Oh my gosh, I don't even open up the blinds. I have no light. What the frick? Here is the question of the day. I was asked, how do I love people well when I don't like people? And to the person that asked this, I apologize because you asked me this like almost a week ago, and I feel so terrible that I did not answer. So here is your answer. I honestly, it took a lot for me to love people. I am not a big fan. I am an introvert to the core, and that means I'm selective. And when I'm trying to figure out things, I observe and I figure out, I'm like, oh, I don't like them. They're annoying, or there's something off with them or whatever. I'm very good at sensing and discerning those things. And so when it came to loving people well, or even getting into ministry, because somebody who doesn't like people in ministry is kind of wild. But you see it with Moses, right? Moses is like, I don't want anything to do with these people. I don't want. I think that's really why Moses was getting angry. Like, yeah, they're worshiping other idols and stuff. But I also think Moses was an introvert that was like, please get me away from these people. Like, just get me away from them. But for me personally, my love for people shifted when I fell more in love with Jesus. When I fell more in love with Jesus, I was more moved with love for other people than ever before. So whenever I start to get a little bit like, oh my gosh, people are they're so annoying, I kind of check my heart first. And I go, God, am I living in the right love for the people that I should? And if you're like, does that really work? Yeah. The reason that God says the golden rule is to love your neighbor as yourself is because he knows if you love him well, you'll love your neighbor well. You will. It's not something that you ever have to really battle or struggle with. When you're so in love with the Father, your eyes for people begin to change because you begin to see his sons and his daughters the way he does, which is a father that is moved in love, that is moved in compassion. He's an amazing and wonderful father, and he loves his children. And he wants us to love his children the same way that he does. And so if you're struggling with loving them, ask God to show you how he loves you. Because it'll shift the way you love other people. It will. All right. I think I answered that question. What else were we going to talk about? It's really funny because I'm doing this before church and I'm probably going to be late because I am definitely the girl that walks into church late, but I look cute, so can't do much about it. Can't do much about me being cute and late. So, um, but no, I think the daylight savings thing is actually kicking my butt because I really I got a phone call this morning and I didn't know daylight savings was happening, and they were like, "Hey, are you going to church today?" And I said, "Why are you calling me? It's 9:30 in the morning." And they're like, "You do know that it would have been like 10:30 and you would be late to church right now." And I was like, "Oh, look at that. Didn't set my alarm correctly. I accidentally set my alarm for 11:15 instead of 9:15. Don't know how I did that last night." So the football game must have been very interesting. I want to encourage some of you guys that don't feel as though your calling is that important or you're not that important. In the eyes of God, you are his beloved. He looks at you with eyes of wonder and love. He sees you as his son and his daughter. Your calling on your life is not insignificant because you don't sit in a pulpit or you're not a part of ministry in that way. Just because you're doing marketplace ministry where you're working a normal job and maybe you're a doctor or you're a teacher, it does not mean that you do not have influence or your calling is less than. Honestly, you have the most effective job than any of us could ever have. I can sit in ministry and do all the things and preach and teach and do all the stuff, right? But people have to come to me. You get to sit in the places where the people are. Your calling is so beautiful and anointed and amazing, and don't look down on it with shame or feeling less than about it because it's beautiful and it's held highly in the eyes of God. I think there's this weird narrative where we've thought like if I'm not a pastor then I'm not significant in the kingdom. Everybody's of equal value in the kingdom. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter your gender, your race, it doesn't matter your calling, it doesn't matter how far along in the faith you are. you are of equal value in the kingdom of God. I had this question too. What is the fivefold? Do I believe in the fivefold? How does it correlate to who we are? Okay, the fivefold ministry is this. I don't remember where it is in your Bible. It's in the New Testament. Somebody preaches about it. I'm sorry. I will put the exact reference to the verse right here. The fivefold ministry is this: apostle, pastor, evangelist, preacher, prophet. Teacher, not preacher, teacher, prophet. I know I've sat in a lot of churches that believe in the fivefold, that utilize the fivefold, and they believe that every single person falls into one of these spheres, right? And that's kind of where you're called. I'm not going to be honest with you. I don't really know how the apostle works. It's not something that I'm super familiar with, so I'm not even going to touch that. I do know that the pastor is very good at leading people. He's very good. He's a very good shepherd, right? He's a good shepherd. Sorry, just cut that song stuck in my head. Um, yeah, so he's a very good shepherd, right? The teacher is very good at teaching you foundational theological principles, just giving you all of that knowledge. That is not me. Not great at that, right? The evangelist is great at evangelism. Very, very straightforward, right? And the prophet is great at the prophetic, which is where I fall into. I know that they believe in that, like, the fivefold is what's going to bring, like, I don't know, something. I don't really try to understand it, but it is something really good to understand where you fall, because it might help you kind of unpack what God is calling you to, right? And you might already feel some things where you're like, I kind of feel like this, but I don't really know. There's actually this really cool test you can take to figure out where you are in the fivefold. I here's what I did. I asked God. I did. I was like, what, where do I fall in this? Is this you? What is this? Ask God. Then I went and took that test, and then I went back to God. And then I started to unpack it and started to just live out what those things mean, because I had always felt this sense in my spirit that I had a prophetic gifting, because I could, like, understand things, or I would get, like, these words or these visions for people, and I'd be like, what the flip is that? And so I had already kind of known. But for those of you guys that are like, I don't know if I fall into any of those things, go and take the test. It's great for you to learn more about yourself, to understand how God's made you in the kingdom, and understand also how to be utilized in the kingdom. It's a great, great thing. And I want to say this too. That does not, the fivefold does not give you your identity. It doesn't. Me being a prophetic person, I don't really like to call myself a prophet, a prophetic person does not mean that's who I am. At the end of the day, I am a daughter of a king. My talents and my giftings do not define who I am in the eyes of the Father. His love is not wavered on my talents or my gifting. His love is rested upon who he made me to be from the very beginning. And that's it. That is it. I've seen a lot of people get off on I'm this or I'm that, and all their identity is coming from being something in the fivefold, or their gifts or their talents, and they don't know who they are as a daughter or a son, and because of it they're lost. Because of it they're not effective. Your true authority comes from when you know you are royally seated. When you know you are sitting next to a king and he calls you his son and his daughter, the air that you walk with changes. You go, I don't need to talk to you. I don't need to deal with that. Why? Because you're royal. He puts a crown upon your head. Because you're seated, right? I'm just saying. There's just moments where I'm like, ugh. If people could just get down, like, to the core that your identity is that you are a son or a daughter, so many more people would walk in the fullness. You would walk and not grow weary. You really would. Because you'd be like, nah, I know who I am. I don't gotta mess with that. You don't gotta tell me who I am. Is it cool to, like, unpack different parts of you? Yeah. Here's the thing that I've always heard, like, do I think, like, personality tests and stuff are cool? Yeah, I actually do. I think they're really beneficial to kind of understand how your brain works and things like that. But at the end of the day, that's not who you are. At the end of the day, we're all sons and daughters. my Enneagram, my love language, my Myers-Briggs, my disc, all that stuff, my fivefold, that does not make me who I am. It explains some things of how my brain works, but it does not define me as a son and a daughter. It doesn't. So, oh, I want to say this. This is my rant of the day. I feel like I should start cutting these just like so you guys could see everything that I process through. This is my rant of the day. I'm over. What time is it? 10:39. Good. Okay, we're on schedule. I have to leave in like 2 minutes. I'm over. Here it is. Since I just talked about the fivefold and being prophetic, I want to say this. One, prophetic words are about discernment. If you're somebody that walks in a prophetic gifting, you don't just throw words out right when you get them. You have to discern if these are the words that are meant to be spoken now and who it's for. And you have to ask the Father, okay, is this for right now or is this for a later time? There's been a lot of moments in life where I've given words and it wasn't for the time. It wasn't meant to be right then. And that was a growing process. It's beautiful, but it was a growing process. But in order to be entrusted with more, I have to steward what is given to me. So whenever I'm given a prophetic word, my first move is no longer I need to give this right now. My first move is, okay, God, where is the time that you want this to go? Because what does his word say? There is a time and an hour, right? He gives direction on these things. He's not just throwing things out and going, figure it out. When has he done that? Unless you're living in like amazing right standing, most of the time he's not saying when it comes to prophetic, just throw it out. He's saying, okay, like this is for this time. You need to discern, and I trust you as as a daughter to figure out where to put this and where it goes. And so I've just noticed this thing in the prophetic culture where we just throw out words and we don't discern, and it's the most vital part. There's a lot of people on this app that like are like, oh, I'm a prophet and all this stuff and just speak generalization words. But when you read your word and you read in the Old Testament about the prophets, a lot of times they weren't just giving out words to give out words. They were discerning when that word was meant to be given, when it was for the people, when it was for a king, when it was for a person. Just because you got some word doesn't always mean it's meant to be given. It doesn't. And so this might get me in some hot water. I just don't care. But like we can't start just throwing out prophetic words because we feel as though it needs to be spoken because we got a prophetic word, we have to share it immediately. Nah, that's not discernment. He can't steward you. He can't entrust you with more if you don't steward what you have. I don't know. I'm not a big fan. I'm also not a big fan of this too. I've seen this where we're almost like trying to benefit from Jesus of like taking money and giving prophetic words if you like give me a certain amount of money on a live. Like that is so, just my heart grieves for that because when did we defile the temple again? I know Jesus went in John and flipped the tables. And why? Because Jesus was upset with the people that were benefiting and utilizing the temple to make a profit off of. Do you want me to be honest? I think he's grieved when we get on lives and we get on social media and we start asking for money in order to breathe his word. Are you kidding me? We're going to start to gatekeep God? Are you kidding me? We're just, honestly, what we're doing is TBN all over again. Sow your seed just looks a little bit different because it's on social media. I can't do it. I'm just being honest. And I understand that there are certain things that are like, I actually do agree with. Like when people like invest a lot into like courses and things like that, like I'm not mad. Like, but when you're asking for like hundreds of dollars to go through a course, that's insane to me. That's crazy. But like, I don't know. I'm just watching something happen. I'm like, it's time. Like, I know we believe in like flipping the tables in the church and all these things, but I'm like, it also needs to come to this place where people are not using their gifting to then steal from the people. If he's the provider, he'll provide. You don't have to manipulate people in order to get yourself provided for. And I'm just like, I just don't love that. I don't love that. It's not my thing. It's just, I don't know. It kind of makes me angry. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'm hoping that I didn't just rant for too long about that because it makes me so mad. If you need encouragement, I want you to either leave a heart or a comment of how I can either pray. Oh my goodness. How I can either pray or encourage you. I'm going to choose some people at random to just encourage and pray for and just ask for God to bless this week. So if that's you, hit me up. You don't gotta pay for it. I know I just wanted that rant about paying for things. You don't gotta pay for it. I just want to encourage people. I love to encourage people in their faith. So if that's you or you're like, actually, can you, I just like message you on Instagram or something, that's fine too. This is where you're going to do it. Last week was actually really fun. I loved getting to give words to people. It was, and like just pray over people, praying hope over people. It was so fun. So if this is something that you really, really need, I'm really excited. You missed out last week because I did everybody's last week because it was the first one. But this week I'm just going to choose some people that I feel like the Holy Spirit's highlighting. That's all that I got. I don't think I have anything else to lose my crap over today. Who knows what God will tell me today? Maybe he'll tell me something cool and I'll come back later on. So, all right. Have a good one. I hope each of you guys has an amazing Sunday. I hope that watch me start to bless your Sunday. Let's do this. I hope each of you guys has an amazing Sunday today. I hope that there was a really cute guy that talked to you at church or a really cute girl that talked to you at church. I pray that upon you, you know? Some of you guys are like really believing for that. I hope the outfits were great. I hope the food was great. I hope that nap, fire, flames. That's all I got. I'm done. I'm going to try to figure it out. I might just start editing these like a podcast on TikTok, but I don't know yet because that takes a lot of editing and your girl gets tired. So, all right, have a good Sunday. I'm going to church. I'm going to be late, but I'm going to walk through fashionably late. So,